Hi guys, it's Sakura with This is the Superior Book Club, and today we're reviewing Under the Red Hood, which I really didn't like. A lot of the time, I just thought it was pretty boring, or I didn't understand what was going on very clearly. I felt that it was definitely not the place for a relatively new reader to jump on, and it being my only second Batman book, I just ended up rather confused most of the time. So, the characters are Batman and Nightwing. There's Onyx, and I've never heard of Onyx, so they tried to explain who she was, and I get former assassin someone or other. For some reason, Batman lets her stay in Gotham, but no one else. I don't know. The Black Mask, which is the Red Skull, only, not red. I mean, that's what he looks like. And Mr. Freeze, or Arnold. And I don't do a good Arnold impression, but so I'm gonna put what I was thinking during each chat, let you know what I was thinking as I was reading along, because my mind was not always on the comic. It was very easy for my mind to wander. So in chapter 1, it was narrated by Alfred, and this guy in red slices, and then unmasks Batman. Then he takes his mask off, surprising Batman, and then it goes back to 5 weeks earlier, where we find out that someone bought Wayne's R&D department, and Red is calling a meeting of all the drug dealing criminals, telling them that they have to give him a cut for protection, and they're not allowed to sell to kids, ever. So, at the same time, the Black Mask is recruiting Mr. Freeze. Now, during this chapter, all I could think about was Break the Walls Down, which is Jericho's theme song, because I noticed that it was playing when he came down to the ring, and I was watching WCW and not WWF, which means he was allowed to keep his music when he moved to the WWF. And I just thought that was really fascinating, because most people had to change music when switching promotions. So that was my chapter 1 thoughts. Chapter 2 was narrated by Batman, and I have to say I really liked the rapport between Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne. And while they were beating back bad guys, Batman ended up waxing some nostalgic narration, and they accidentally blow up a boat, which, when they come out of the water, and this is another thing I didn't like, it looked like their faces were melting, but I think it was supposed to be just water dripping off them, so that wasn't very good. So then they go after the Red Hood, but he seems familiar, and then they come across Amazo. And during this time, my thoughts would wander to Eddie Guerrero's mullet, and whether Scott Steiner used steroids, or if he came by his rapidly increasing muscles. Honestly, I personally think it was roids, but and Eddie kept his mullet a lot longer than anyone else I know of. Man. So then we go to chapter 3. And chapter 3 was narrated by Nightwing, which I knew by talking to people that Dick Grayson was Nightwing before this, so that made sense. So we find out the shipment of bad guy stuff and the robot belong to the Skull. And during the fight with Amazo, which is some robot that's got the powers of all the Justice League, so, he's a Super Skrull. He's the Justice League of America's Super Skrull. Calling it like I see it. Anyway, so Batman is educating Dick and telling him, not just telling him how to beat Amazo, but how to figure out how to beat Amazo. So, ever the dad, I guess. And then it turns out that the Red Hood is behind Batman and Nightwing finding the shipment to begin with. And before they found it, he took a lot of kryptonite, and then he contacted the Black Mask. And my thoughts, actually, this time, were a lot more interesting than the last two, maybe a little more relative, because The Punisher's coming out soon, and on the trailer was the song One by Metallica, which is one of the most horrific, most beautiful songs I'd ever heard. And in that song, this guy, he can't see, he can't hear, he can't taste, he's being fed through a straw, he can't move. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have full use of his limbs. And when you get to the fast part of the song, if you watch the video, he's tapping out in Morse code, "Kill me, please kill me." And because all he feels is pain. That's all he has left in his life is pain. Everything worthwhile to him, everything worth existing for, is dead. And that's the Punisher. Everything he had, everything he cared about, was gone. And all that he was left was the pain of their loss. And I feel that his death wish, his going after people and just going crazy and killing everyone, that it is a death wish, and he's just trying to take as many motherfuckers out as possible. So, the parallels between the song and why they chose that song and why that song is apt resonated with me. So, that was my thoughts during Chapter 3. Now, Chapter 4, I was narrated by the Red Hood, and during it, the Black Mask, I keep writing Skull down as in Red Skull, and now I keep getting confused. The Black Mask made a deal with the Red Skull, and he sent Freeze to backstab him, kill him, and capture the kryptonite. Batman and Nightwing are hunting the kryptonite, and they keep making references to Oracle, which I know from when I asked when we were reading Hush that Oracle is Barbara Gordon. So I don't know what happened to her, but for some reason they can't get her to help. And then it looks like the Red Skull is killing the Joker, but I guess he didn't kill the Joker. Then there was this big reveal of who the Red Hood was, and I didn't recognize the picture. They didn't say any names. I was just like, huh? So we went to Chapter 5, and Chapter 4 was just when I don't know what I was thinking. I was just confused by the whole thing. Chapter 5, the Hood kept hitting the Black Mask merchandise, destroying it, not capturing it. He's just keeps taking and taking and taking, but not taking, but destroying. And that was very interesting. And meanwhile, Batman is out here and there and everywhere, checking out. He's checks out a Lazarus pit, which I guess there's more than one. He argues fact versus theory with a magic user, and frankly, it was neither fact nor theory. It was rumor, which is neither. He consults an occult expert on raising the dead, and he gets pissy with everyone. He's just completely snappy and pissy while he's trying to find answers. And the Red Hood talks to this Onyx person that, once again, I've never heard from. And at this point, I am thinking that Scott Hall looks really good, and I decide to spend a few minutes contemplating his biceps and his hair and just how good he looks. So, yeah, there was that. And Chapter 6 was, once again, pretty boring. Batman's drilling Superman about how he died, and Red Hood decides to party with Onyx, and then gets all kill happy with the bad guys, which was, who doesn't want to get kill happy with the bad guys? And then he stabs Onyx. And while he's getting all kill happy with the bad guys, I was spending time wondering why nowadays I like Kevin Nash, when back in the day I liked X-Pac, and I think it has to do with I am now the age Kevin Nash was back in the day, where I am the same age as X-Pac, so we're talking 20 years later, making him, 20 years younger than me, and therefore, maybe that's why I'm not so attracted to him. Yeah. So, this book was having trouble keeping my attention. It really was. So then we get to Chapter 7. And Chapter 7 started with Batman talking about Jason. Which made me wonder, is this the guy behind the mask? I know that Jason is Jason Todd. I found out when Batman vs. Superman happened by listening to all the Twitter talk about it, that he was a Robin, which that was the first time I knew there was more than one Robin, because I grew up on the TV show reruns, Adam West. So I just thought it was always Dick. And then I found out more about Jason when we were reading Hush. So I'm wondering, is this the guy behind the mask? And then Batman ends up coming to Onyx's rescue. And we're back to the moment from the beginning of the book. And I remember being excited to finally see Jason when we had reached Hush, which I liked, only to be disappointed that it was Clayface, because everyone had been talking about Jason. And I'd never heard of Clayface. And now Jason said it was him through most of Hush, and now I'm all excited again. And this was a chapter I really liked. Chapter 7 was great. However, my mind did stray at one point to the documentary Beyond the Mat, and Mick Foley talking about falling unconscious, and Jake the Snake Roberts talking about his drug addiction and how he dealt with that. And so that was kind of sad. But, once the chapter got going, I stopped thinking about Beyond the Mat and started thinking about this chapter, which was really good. And the big thing here is Jason kills bad guys. I honestly don't see anything wrong with that. So, when Chapter 8 happened, Batman's examining this coffin, and he just keeps looking at it. And Alfred's reminiscing, pointing out Jason's mean streak, and they say that, oh, well, Jason was never in the coffin, and, wow, all those pages I got 3 lines of notes. And I don't like Steven Regal. Now, my mind's been on wrestling a lot lately, so most of the time when my mind wandered, it wandered to wrestling. Since it was playing in the background and I was trying, and I'd look up and be like, ew, I don't like him. So this is what I thought. I don't like Steven Regal. And I spent more time contemplating how much I didn't like Steven Regal than I did writing notes for this chapter. 3 notes. Then chapter 9 happened. And all I could think, because I'm like 8 chapters, I'm like, I am so close to the end. Chapter 9, I'm like, does this book ever end? And I decided that's it. I'm gonna have a drinking game. Every time I think I'm getting bored, I'm gonna take a drink. I was pretty drunk by the time I finished the next 4 chapters, which wasn't the ending. So Batman tries to he saves 2 meth cookers, but he fails to defuse the bomb, and things go boom. And I like it when things go boom. So, I mean, that was okay. And the Red Hood shoots a rocket launcher at the Black Mask, which makes more things go boom. So that was okay. And then Deathstroke shows up. And I know who Deathstroke is because I watch Arrow, or used to watch Arrow. So I'm like, I know who he is. And I don't know what the society is. They didn't explain what this society is. He's like, oh, part of the society. I'm like, fuck. And yeah, this is the book that doesn't end. Feel like I'm in the very ending of Lamb Chop's old TV show. So, chapter 10 happens, and 2 bad guys try to kill Jason. Batman comes to the rescue, and they fight together until Jason kills. And their fighting together was kind of okay, but Mr. Perfect might be a heel in the WCW in 1997, but I've always liked him, and I'm sorry that he's dead in real life. So, the next chapter was chapter 11. And I started singing the song. This is a book that doesn't end. It just goes on and on, my friend. I started reading it. I started reading it, not knowing what it was, and I'll continue reading it forever just because this is the book that doesn't end. It just goes on and on, my friend, and so on and so on. And my God, this book was long. So I thought it was sweet that Jason sent, I put batshit here, who was drinking at this point, so I believe it. So I go, Jason, sent batshit a present, and the Black Mask is whining, and then he gets all murdery to broker a deal with the Red Skull. And then, of course, Jason backstabs him. So if I remember correctly, the Mask was meeting his lieutenants, whining about the Red Hood, and then he gets all murdery and kills them all. And the reason he's doing that is because he made a deal with the Red Hood, and the Red Hood betrays him because bad guys betray bad guys. And, yeah. So then chapter 12 happened, and the Black Mask supposedly kills Red just as I put Batfuck here this time. Just as Batman arrives, and it's not Jason. And instead, Jason's somewhere else, and he has the Joker, so apparently he didn't kill the Joker earlier like I thought he did. So he has the Joker who had killed Jason, and the Joker pisses off Jason, and then Jason stabs the Joker. Meanwhile, a glowing green slime living bomb blows up Bloodhaven, where Nightwing is supposed to be, and once again, I like things blowing up, but we never ever find out if Dick Grayson's still alive. And I want to know. I mean, I don't want to know enough to actually read more Batman, but if someone knows, can you just tell me? Because I'm not going to read it. And that was a real dick move of them not resolving that. So, chapter 13, I started reading, and at this point, the only thought going through my mind is, I've got to get this done. This was my third session reading this book, and I couldn't believe it just kept going, because a while back I read the words "the end," and I turned and there was a chapter 9. I'm like, you're shitting me. Ugh. Apparently they do not understand the concept of the words "the end," because you don't put "the end" at chapter 9 and have 13 chapters and an epilogue. I'm just saying, the end would be at the end of chapter 13 or during the epilogue, but not at the end of chapter 8. That was a stupid "the end," and yeah. So this morning I got up, I'm like, I've got to finish this. I put on chapter 13, and it's the climax of the book, and it was a pretty good climax once again. I guess this would be the second chapter I liked. After chapter 7, I really liked this one. So it was the climax of the book. The Red Skull is pissed off that Batman didn't kill the Joker, and he's got a point. Like, this dude killed me. You think you can kill him back? Kill him back would be really good. And he gives Batman the choice of killing him, or he'd kill the Joker. And then Batman did this fancy shooting thing and hit the Red Hood, and Joker's free. A couple interesting things in this chapter. Batman was like, oh, I can kill people, but I can't kill the Joker. He's the one guy I can't kill because there's no coming back from that. And I think what he was trying to say is killing in anger and killing for vengeance is going down the dark side of the Force, where killing in self-defense is okay. And it was unclear. I couldn't figure out if Jason was really dead this time, or if he survives. And then there's this epilogue, and it said that Jason Todd wasn't supposed to die, so he woke up after being buried alive, or he woke up in his coffin. He is buried alive, and it chronicles his recovery, and yeah, he recovers slowly with no memory until Talia al Ghul rescues him from the street, and eventually she shoves him into the Lazarus pit, and then she kisses him. And apparently, she and him formed the plan together to get back at Batman. She's like, hey, he didn't avenge you. This is wrong. And I have to assume that this is some really fucked up Assassin's Guild creed. So, that is my story. That's the Red Hood. That is my thoughts while I was doing it, my notes on it, and I have to say, I hope not all Batman books are like this, because this one could not hold my interest and felt more like a chore than enjoyable, where Batman Hush might have started out a little slow, but I really got into it and was really excited and kind of sad when it finally ended. Check out the Superior Comic Show. The link is in the description. And I'm at Sakura_XP. They're at Superior Comics 16. And I will talk to you later for the SCS Challenge.